G'day there, fellow cobbers and cobbettes. This is I Read Reddit, and today I'm going to be reading some Entitled Parent stories. If you're new to the channel, then how's it going? I upload here daily, and if you don't want to miss out on any new stories, then feel free to boomerang, didgeridoo, dingo, koala that subscribe button. Now grab some tucker, put a shrimp on your barbie, and brace yourself for some more Entitled Parents shenanigans. I've just found this sub, and I thought you might like this story. For the purposes of clarity, here are our cast of characters. BK, Bratty Kid, and Entitled Parent, the Bratty Kid's entitled mum, and me, the absolute legend. Or not, it's just me. I have 3 snakes. One is super chilled out, one is a little hissy but ultimately pretty tame, and one, the smallest, is a straight up psycho who I didn't even try to handle because he's an angry little danger noodle. They all live in their vivariums in my living room. The other day my girlfriend's friend stopped by unannounced with her 6-year-old kid in tow. My girlfriend doesn't really like this person, but has known her for years and is part of a large group of friends. So to avoid any drama, she invited her in. I was just chilling playing Red Dead Redemption 2 when they come into the living room. The bratty kid is instantly drawn to the snake tanks. I actually love it whenever other people's kids come over, because they're genuinely fascinated by the snakes. On occasion, I've got my chill boy out to show them, and if they seem responsible enough, I'll let them hold him under close supervision. I could tell straight away that the bratty kid wouldn't get this chance. He's only 6 for a start, but he was very quickly banging on the glass of each viv and demanding the snakes come out to play. I asked him to stop. Snakes are deaf, but very sensitive to vibrations. As it is just coming to the end of winter, they're particularly sensitive to eating. Basically, it's a job to get them to eat, and we're both being quiet around them to make it easier. But of course, he doesn't. I look to the entitled parent, but she just laughs in an "isn't he cute" kind of way. Like I said, I enjoy teaching kids about the snakes because I'm a biologist and conservationist, and any positive experiences with animals and kids is a major step in helping wildlife, and I figured that getting my chill dude out would at least stop the bratty kid from banging on the glass. So I got him out. It was all going well, the kid responded well and seemed really interested in the snake boy's tongue and whatnot. I tell the bratty kid to touch his scales to show he wasn't slimy, and he was a little less than gentle. But like I said, he's 6. But this is when it went downhill. BK demanded to hold the snake. Now, no matter how experienced you are at keeping reptiles and exotics, they are still wild animals. They get used to being handled, but there's always a chance of being bitten. Hence why I don't handle Psycho Danger Noodle. Plus, my lads were not getting handled as often or as usual because it's winter. So I said no. There was a second of silence. Then the biggest wail of crying ever. Like the crying dude from YouTube, but about 50 hertz higher in frequency. The entitled parent looks over and said, "Just let him hold the snake, stop being so boring." This obviously made me really angry. She's in my house, unannounced, and I'm still making an effort to entertain her offspring. I tried to explain to her why I wouldn't let the bratty kid hold my boy, but it wasn't good enough. My girlfriend was getting more and more embarrassed, and mouthed a very sincere, "I'm sorry," in my direction, whilst the entitled parent continued to call me boring and stuck up, etc, etc. Now, snakes are all about movement. When you pick them up, you should always try to scoop from underneath, rather than grab them from above, like a bird or other predator would. Entitled parent didn't know this. She runs over to tend to the bratty kid who's full on blowing his lid at this point, and in an effort to give him what he wanted, reached over to try to grab the snake. Snaky boy didn't like this, and he made his first ever bite on anyone. It was only a little tag, but enough to draw a minute amount of blood from her hand. She instantly starts screaming about how the snake had poisoned her. Snakes are venomous, not poisonous, and this particular one is neither. Grabbed her child and left very suddenly. She texted my girlfriend, saying she was going to the police for me setting a deadly animal on her. My Severus is a corn snake, no license required, and definitely not dangerous in the slightest. And even tried to get the rest of their friends on board. Obviously, they laughed her out of the friend group. Apparently this is the last straw for most of them. Yeah, and I don't blame them. What a psycho! Some backstory. So this happened in October. I broke my leg pretty badly in September. It wasn't some dramatic falling from a roof crap. My leg got stuck between some tree roots when I was camping in the forest with some friends, and it twisted it so bad that my knee got very fudged up. At first it wasn't much, but after a few minutes it started hurting so fudging bad. My knee was like 3 times as big as before it, and hurting like I got shot. Because we were in the middle of the forest, we couldn't get an ambulance, so my friends helped me get to the car and drove me to the hospital. I got some checkups, and I luckily avoided getting a cast, as there was no actual bone damage, except for the shard of bone that had opened up in my knee. It wasn't too bad, as I didn't need surgery. My leg was put in a harness or something, I don't know what it's called. I also had to use crutches for like a month. The harness was quite large, so I wore big dress pants over them. So on to the story. So, when I was finally able to go back to school, I go to school away from my home, so it takes 2 buses to get there. I go to the bus, and there was only 1 seat left, so I sat down, put my crutches on the holding thing above my head, and we drove off. A few stops later, a woman and her kid who looked about 4 to 5 years old came on. She scouted the seats and saw that none were free, and then she saw me, a large, lazy, good-for-nothing teenager. She came up to me, and I knew crap was about to go down. You guys already know what me, an entitled parent, and entitled kid stands for, so she starts off. "Excuse me, could my kid sit down?" "Oh, sorry, I have a broken knee and need this seat." She looks at my leg. "But you're fine. Stop being lazy and let my kid sit." "No, I really broke my knee." I pulled up the leg of my dress pants, revealing the harness thing. "See? Why isn't your leg in a cast then? Stop lying and let my kid sit." She pulled on my jacket and tried to pull me off my seat. I slapped her hand off my jacket and told her to stop. The entitled kid starts whining about wanting to sit. "See what you did? You fudging teenagers are so rude." You midlife crisis adults are ruder. Also, you have a kid, so you're swearing in front of him. That's not going to set a good example. "Don't tell me how to act in front of my child." She was full on yelling now, and the whole bus was looking at us. The bus driver stopped at the next stop and told the entitled parent and the kid to get off. The entitled parent tried to defend herself by telling the driver that I was lying about a broken leg. The bus driver told her with the coldest bloody voice ever that I've got on with crutches, obviously struggling. The bus driver pointed at the crutches and said, "See?" The entitled parent's faces went red as she stormed off the bus. Never seen the lady again. My knee's done a good recovery. I don't have to wear the harness or use crutches anymore, but walking still hurts a bit, and my knee sometimes just gives up and does a weird click and boom, and I'm losing balance. Also, this is translated from my native language to English, so I hope I got everything translated correctly. This is pretty short, but I wanted to share it. For my 15th birthday party, we went to a bowling alley in a bigger city around us. We invited a few people for it, which were a few of my friends and my mum's friends. When everyone got there, we did some bowling before we had cake and all that. One of my mum's friends she invited, which would be the entitled mother and her kid, weren't doing anything. The entitled kid had a Pepsi in his hand, and the mum was drinking a Tim Hortons coffee. I was sitting at the table after I was done with my turn, and I see the entitled mum whisper something into the ear of her kid. They walk into the party room after their little exchange, which the party room was probably an old employee break room. I think nothing of it and continue bowling. After we were all done, we go into the party room and do everything you'd normally do at the birthday party. But before we could even do that, the cake, which was pretty expensive, was just straight up missing. I thought my mum left it in the car, so I go out to see if it's in there. Right when I walk out the door, I see the entitled mum and the entitled kid sitting at one of the tables outside, wasting no time digging into the cake. When I walk out there, their faces immediately turned red. The following argument ensues. "Why are you and your kid sitting at the table eating my bloody cake?" I wasted no time getting ticked off. "Well, your cake was just sitting there, so I thought I could take it." "Mom, you said that they wouldn't notice." After the kids said those words, and before I could say anything again, the entitled mum threw the entire cake on the ground and ran into their car and drove off. By this time, everybody was already behind me, just watching it all. My mum didn't say anything. She knew who she was. Since the entitled mum lived 5 minutes away from the bowling alley, my mum waited until she knew she got home and called her. My mum called her a total of 15 times and she wouldn't pick up. Afterwards, we told the manager about the situation and agreed to get another cake for us. But even after we got the cake later that day, the entitled mum had already ruined the party for everyone. So, thanks entitled mother. You're a bloody legend. Cheers. Okay, so I wasn't here for this, but my mum's friend had a little boy, about 5 or 6 years old, and he gets changed for pocket money when he does chores, as any normal kid would. So at one point, he saved up about $10, enough to buy a toy he wanted for ages. I can't remember what it was, maybe walkie-talkies? So his mum, my mum's friend, took him to the shop to buy his toy, and he's excited as all heck, grinning like it's Christmas, as you'd expect. He finds the toy and joins the queue to pay for it. But at some point he trips and drops all his coins. Lots of silvers, so like $10 was about 30 coins. And a pair of other little kids starts picking them up along with him, which the mother's friend assumes is very sweet because they're all being very helpful. But once all the coins are collected, the two little kids are laughing and stuffing the coins into their pockets. The mother's friend looks around and manages to find their jerk of an entitled mother, and after explaining the situation, expects the mother to tell the kids to give the money back. Nope! She literally laughs and says, "Well, you know, finders keepers." Now, at the time, she was too flustered to think to ask for security, but her poor son is in tears because the little devils took more than half of his money, and now he can't afford his toy. So the mother's friend obviously pays for the toy for him and brings him home. But on the way out, she heard the entitled mother whispering to the kids, "So, how much did you get?" as the kids counted the stolen coins. Obviously, when my mum told me this story, I immediately suggested that the mother's friend goes to the store and asks for witnesses or security tapes. But I don't think she ever did. Entitled mother, I hope you're burning in hell, and your children are being raised by better parents right now. Hey guys, glad you stuck around to the end for that one. I'll use a little bit of profanity there, I understand. I had fun doing that. Yeah, I don't know what to think of these people. That is just filth. But anyway, I'll have some more for you later. Talk to me in the comments, subscribe, like, do all that shenanigans, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.